welcome to Go For Your Life. Thank you so much for tuning in and giving me your listening ears. Woohoo! This is a podcast for everyone, about everything, and it's to encourage, inspire, uplift you to go for your life. And it is presented and hosted by myself, Caro, and my sweet dog Sparky. Give it up for him. I hope you're ready. Enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of Go For Your Life. So this is me and Vanessa. Woo, 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 woo. Vanessa, back on the podcast for, I know, the third time, I think, in this time. And I always love having you so much. Thank you so much for being here all the way from Jersey.
Well, I feel like every conversation we have is a podcast.
Thank you very much. I feel the same. Absolutely the same, for sure.
We should just record them all.
Yeah, exactly. We should just make a whole series. But yeah, it's kind of hilarious for the listeners just tuning in. We were already really going ahead with, I was asking Vanessa some questions and we're already having a big conversation. I was like, maybe I should press record. So I have now pressed record. And let me just bring you back a little bit, Vanessa, because basically you are a wonderful, incredible being, and you have now, initially started a pop-up studio called Purpose, but you decided it should keep popping, and it's now a permanent yoga studio, kind of on the beach, right?
Right on the beach, and yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're right up. You can see New York City up from the beach. Yeah.
And you started is it now 3 months ago or even longer? Because time is just a crazy thing, isn't it?
I think we're going into our 6th month now. We started in June.
Wow. First of all, congratulations. And, I wish you nothing but goodness because you are that. You are that. That's But yeah, you're just amazing, and I'm so grateful that we've met each other through the interwebs and Instagram and all that kind of stuff, and became good friends, definitely. And we were talking a little bit about yoga teaching, specifically teacher training, and you were saying a little bit oh my God, why are people that go to a yoga teacher training are not taught yoga? So let's dive straight in, Vanessa. What were you saying? Because it was really good stuff.
Well, I've mentored many, new 200-hour teachers in the past 2 decades. And I met a new woman I met her through the studio. And she comes to my classes often. And, we're in our slow time right now. It's cold and crappy outside. So everything kind of slows down. So she actually got a couple of privates with me. And, one time she wasn't really sure what she wanted to work on. And I was just all right, just start with some Surya Namaskar Bs, run through maybe 6 of them just to, get warmed up. And then we'll sit down and we'll talk about, if there's something in particular you want to work on or talk about or whatever. And she looked at me like I had 2 heads, and I'm like, go ahead, just start with Surya Namaskar B. And she's just and I'm like, you do know what Surya Namaskar B is, right? And she's like, I think I know what A is. And I'm like, and I was just like, what? I'm like, wait. You don't understand. I'm like, you understand where vinyasa comes from, right? The lineage line, vinyasa comes out of Ashtanga, that's where we get the flowing style. And, those are their warm-ups, Sun A and Sun B.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I think we may have learned the first ones. And I'm like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, my teacher trainees or the people that I train or are mentoring or whatever, they get all pissed off because I'll in the middle of the class, I'll be like, so Maggie, what's the Sanskrit for cobra?
Yeah.
And I'll do it to them all the time. And I'm just like, okay, we're in this class and someone walks in that, has a bum shoulder. What are you doing? I quiz them in the middle of classes. Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Hi, bud. The dogs are just coming.
All the doggies are joining the podcast. I love it. Yeah.
Earl's on the floor now. He was in the clam. And they hate it in the moment, but then, like one of my trainee, well, he's a teacher now, Jesse, he would get so aggravated. He's like, because he would never get it right. He's just like, I don't know, Vanessa, so we would go over whatever that was, and it would always pop up for him. He's just like, I am so grateful that you were such a pain in my ass, because there's always a wrench that gets thrown in your work. So you can have this fabulous concept of your class that you're gonna teach, and you walk in all prepared, or at least you think you're prepared for all of it, and you get a pregnant woman, you get someone with a wrist injury, you get someone with you get a senior citizen, you get, you know what I mean? It's like you get all of these things, and you need to either reformat your plan or just throw it out the window depending on what it is. And I was blessed with struggle. Like that's kind of been like the story of my life. Like I've been blessed with struggle, so I for all major lessons in my life, I've been thrown into the deep end of the pool and been forced to swim, and one of the first classes I ever taught, you're not going to know what this is, but people in the States that are about our age might know, but I taught at a Bally's gym right outside of New York City. They don't even have Bally's anymore, I don't think. And it was 50 people. And I was just like, got my certificate like a week before. It was something, it was something ridiculous. And 50 people in a room, no mats, no props. Some of them didn't take yoga. I had a pregnant woman. I had senior citizens. I had athletes. It was just a mess. And I just walked in and I was just like, oh my God, and my head is going like this, like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? Like, how do you like have all those plates, flying at the same time? And I guess I have the gift of improv. Like, I guess that's always kind of And I was just like, all right, who's done yoga in here? And I'm, people raise their hand. I'm like, all right, those are the people you watch. I'm like, all right, I'm going to put my mat down here. Everybody face me. I'm like, you go, people that are more advanced, you come in the front, beginners go in the back. I'm like, you take this, blah, 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 this whole big thing, and then still, even when I had something going that was kind of working, I went over I put them all in child's pose for a second. And I went over to like, lightest touch on like this woman's hips, and she screamed. She's like, don't touch me, I have a cracked sacrum. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, what else?
That's what happens.
What else can possibly happen to me today? But things like that, and getting private clients that were like 80 years old and broken, like very early on in my teaching career. Like all of my injuries and all of my challenges teaching have been my best teachers, for sure. It forced me to figure things out like this, but as much as I have a disdain for the man who gave me my original 200 hour for other reasons, you know what, I got to give him, I'll give credit where credit is due. Like he knew he didn't know everything. So he got a team of people that did know, like the woman who did my anatomy was a brilliant Iyengar teacher. He had 2 Ayurvedic doctors teaching us Ayurveda, so we had a very good team of people that gave us our foundation, which at the time I didn't think was anything. Like, you come out of your 200 hour and I don't know about you, but I still felt like I knew nothing. I was like, I don't know enough of it, but I did know quite more than most people do today coming out of a 200 hour training. And it's just, and now 20 years later, I was part of a teacher training that's just going through now. So I taught them their back bends and their arm balances. And, the woman who's running the training is teaching them, traditional alignment stuff, which I think everybody needs to know. You know what I mean? It's like knowing, Vinyasa came from Ashtanga. Like we should know the traditional lineup of stuff.
Exactly. 100%.
At this point, knowing there's so many mitigating factors, especially just the fact that we're women, that
Mm.
that we're built differently, you know, and there's so many classical alignment cues that are not good for women
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
because of our hips, you know.
Yeah.
So when when I train alignment, I'll even use air quotes. When I teach alignment
Mm-hmm.
for people, I'm like, look, like, you know, if you look in light on yoga, this is what it's going to say. But
Mm.
even at the end of his life, Mr. Iyengar said Iyengar yoga was for Iyengar. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't for anybody else. Like those alignment
Mm-hmm.
cues were good for him. You
Yeah.
know, he was a very bendy man,
Yeah.
and and right now, most of our community is the opposite of that. Right,
Yeah.
we're looking to get tight women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've, you know, I don't even. I was thinking the other day, and I was teaching them arm balances, and they left, and I was just like, I don't even think I gave them like the proper, like, you know, light on yoga type alignment for that stuff, you know. But I went over everything they needed to know, you know, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not brain surgery. But, you know, I've been moving towards more, especially because of all of my injuries. Like this past year, I went through, I don't know if you could see that bump on my
Oh
wrist
yeah,
there.
look at that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's my, like, my latest one that I just got through. Like my, in the past year and a half, I haven't been able to do any upper body stuff really, like any arm balances,
Mm.
any inversions,
Mm.
any kind of stuff, because it went from shoulder to wrist.
Yeah.
You know, and coming back to the big lesson, you know, my practice now used to be a lot of shock and awe, you know, like
Mm. Mm-hmm.
all of the big fantastic postures and all, and I love them and they're
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. They changed my life. Like I, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but I look at them differently now, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and you know, this is what I tell everyone. I'm like, what am I trying to get out of this pose?
Mm-hmm.
Not what is it supposed to look like? Like I remember my ex-husband
Mm-hmm.
having a picture of Crow. Like Crow was my nemesis for so long. He would have the
Yeah,
picture of
same.
Crow, and he'd look at me, he'd be like, your ass is too high, Vanessa. Your ass, you know, he's like
Yeah.
micromanaging to the picture, you
Yeah.
know, and I don't remember who was in the picture, but it definitely wasn't me, you
Yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm sure my butt was a lot bigger than whoever this chick was, you
Mm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that matter, you know,
Yeah.
like how you do things, and people
Yeah.
really need to step back from the visual aspects of the postures and dive deeper into what are we trying to do here? Or what are we
Mm-hmm.
trying to strengthen? What are we trying to make space in? What are we trying to feel? What are we trying to do instead of trying to, you know, fit our bodies into a shape that they see on Instagram?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, do you feel like, so when you talk about, like you're doing like more one-on-one training, right? Like people individually train with you at the moment. Like, what do you think? Well, why you do that, but also what's the big difference of doing it that way compared to, as we were talking about before, like it's just like the mill of running out yoga teachers, like as people do in trainings.
Well, I mean, it's a, I feel like the 200 hour is just, it's a space filler. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at someone's schedule for a
Mm-hmm.
200 hour training, you know,
Yeah.
it's like 2 hours of practice, 30 minutes of journaling, lunch, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
half of it isn't even anything that's really that I need to hold their hand for. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like they can take classes for their practice, or
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
you know, they can go home and read their books. They can, you know, journal on
Yeah.
their own. They don't, like, I
Yeah.
don't, that doesn't need to be contact hours. Like the
Yeah.
contact that I have with them is specific to the lessons that need to have contact. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like the postures, the hands-on stuff, like stuff that you actually need a physical body for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. And it just kind
Yeah.
of it compresses everything down to, you know, what's necessary to come personal, like in person from me, and the other stuff they can do on their own time. they can go through the anatomy course, as long as they finish it and everything, and they can read all the books. They have like a reading list. I actually give them a movie list. I give them, like all these things. And then, a lot of people, especially here, like they're working moms and stuff, a 200 hour, like a traditional 200 hour, it's just, it's very time consuming. It's very expensive, and I'm a yoga teacher, I'm not a baron, so it's like, and I get, and, this may sound snotty, but I don't just want to teach everyone because it's lucrative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I like money as much as the next person. Like, obviously, I got dogs to feed and stuff, but it's not, for me, it's not about the money. Like, the money is nice, but like, I'm a snot. Like, I would say to people, like, I trained one of my best friends was taking my training, and he didn't finish. Like, he didn't finish any of it. He could have been a stellar yoga teacher. And then he actually works with the Rockettes right now.
Oh,
so yeah, he does their social media. So, he's like, Vanessa, can I have my certificate? And I go, no, you didn't finish, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just because I love you doesn't mean that you're going to walk around and tell people that I trained you and you're going to teach shitty classes. I go, no. I go, when you finish and I'm confident that you know what you're doing, then you get the rubber stamp.
Yeah, and I think it's also really important, isn't it? Because like Stuart, as you know, my teacher, I speak about him a lot, is he always said that, like, you are going to represent me, and it's funny because sometimes when I am teaching, people do come up to me like, you must be Stuart's teacher, like, because they recognize, of course, they recognize, the style, or they recognize something that he would have said as well, and I think it's important because, you also, people know you, and of course they like, oh, that's, this person traded with Vanessa, I can tell, and I think it's kind of like they are your business card, aren't they? Like they
and
also,
they're like my kids, it's like they're going into the world, and I want them to do it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, like, they're wearing my name on their back. Like, I don't want just like, yoga. I am the walking, sign for the fact that yoga can hurt you. All of my injuries, one, have been from yoga. They have been, because no one ever told me, if you have a neck injury, don't do this or use a blanket. If you know what I mean? Like, I was never taught. There was never a person over my shoulder going, isn't your shoulder hurt? Or, aren't you like, don't you have a back injury or something like that? It was just always like this, without any concern with anything else, like, I herniated in my teacher training. Because we did plow to shoulder stand twice a day, every day for 6 months, and I had a neck injury. So one day it was just like, and that was the first one, and then my lower back went because I was doing too many back bends, too much. And I was just folding my lower back in half instead of prepping my front body right. It was just this combination of just wrong and in, like, unfulfilled teaching, basically. I would rather have people really know their shit and just know less. You know what I mean? Really know, like, even with Bikram, like, really know those fucking 23 poses, like how to help people or whatever. Like, I'm not a fan of Bikram, but like, at least know what they're teaching. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to hurt somebody if you say Bhujangasana wrong.
You know what I mean?
They may get a little giggle from somebody that knows better, but like, you're not going to hurt it. You know what I mean? So since I'm so injured, I focus on that kind of stuff. Like the stuff,
and I think it also makes you a better teacher also, you know what I mean? Like, knowing or having struggles with a certain position, a certain posture, you get to teach it better, like, it's just how it is, I think. Oh, dog's moving. Yes, so
No,
cute.
this is how Butch goes nowhere. Butch is the
Yeah, yeah,
ultimate
yeah,
mama's
yeah,
boy. Like I thought
yeah.
the other two mama's boys, this one blows them out of the water,
So
right?
sweet, so sweet.
Yeah. He doesn't
But
care.
I
He's just
think
like,
I think it's a good point you're making also about, so would you say, so you were mentioning like little bit before when we had our pre-talk, non-recorded pre-talk about Yoga Alliance, and it's something that I also always have like some like real sort of feelings with. But
do you have something like that?
hmm?
Do you have something like that
Yeah,
there
yeah,
at
I
yoga?
mean we work with Yoga Alliance here as well. Yeah.
Oh, you do. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't give
Tell
them
us,
any money.
tell us, tell us, Vanessa. Tell us, tell us.
Oh, yeah, and because everybody asks me like when I train them, they're just like, "Do you do yoga lines?" I'm like, "No." Like I'm running an advanced teacher training now, and they're like, "Do
Yeah.
you get me?" And I'm like, "No, you're not going to." And I'm like, "And if you want to know why, call me directly, and I'll tell you. I'll tell you the story."
Hmm.
So this is the story. So I did I did my 200 hour in New York City. At the time, I could only find 3 teacher trainings. Is that crazy? 3 that I could find.
Hmm.
And it was like Goldilocks. I went to one place. I think it was the Himalayan Institute, Yoga Works, and this place that I could find. That was it.
Hmm.
And, Born, can you lay down? Or like, what's going on? He's like, excuse me, you want to see my down? Just down. There we go. Um, I went to the Himalayan Institute and I was just like, like it's just not me, you know. And then I went to Yoga Works and I'm like, this is oddly corporate. This wasn't what I expected either, And then I went to
Hmm.
this place called Atmananda, and it was the easiest way that I explain it. It makes people laugh, but it was completely opposite. Like it's like anthropology threw up a yoga studio.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was beautiful. It had like tin ceilings and it was a big loft in Soho. And I was just like, wow, this is cool.
Hmm.
And there was this couple running it. And they were like gazelles. They were like long and lean. And they
Hmm.
both had accents from different countries and everything. I'm like, well, this is cool. And sat down and talked to them. And I think it was like, I think I paid 3,500, and this was almost 25 years ago. And
Hmm.
I was like, that's a lot of money, blah 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 blah. And he was just like, look, you can pay it off in installments if you want. He's like, I'm totally willing to do that for you. And I'm like, okay, great.
Hmm.
It started the next day, the training.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah. So, and I was just like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. And he went over and he like put his arm around me and he was just like, all right, Vanessa, I'm looking forward to getting to know you and da 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 da. And I got a chill down my spine when he touched me. And I was just like,
Hmm.
hmm. But at the time, I was working in bars in Manhattan. You know what I mean? And if I
Hmm.
had a dollar for every time a guy grabbed my ass when I was at
Yeah.
work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was just like, yeah, whatever. I just kind of was just like, ugh, whatever. Took the training. I had no issue. He never bothered me. Nothing.
Hmm.
So I start teaching at the studio. And there was a teacher training behind me, the one behind me the following year. So they're going
Hmm.
through the training and I'm teaching there. And close to the end, this woman named Bridget, she comes over to me and she's like, Vanessa, she's like, can I talk to you about something? And I'm like, yeah, of course, whatever. So, we went into the back and I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? And she said, John T won't give me my certificate unless I sleep with him. And I'm like,
Hold the
excuse me?
phone.
I'm like,
Yeah.
excuse, you know, and I was just like, are you kidding? And she's like, no, I know I'm serious. And I'm like, and he was there that day. So I'm just like, all
Yeah.
right, come. I'm like, all right, come with me. So I take her over and he's like behind the desk. And I'm like, I'm like, hey, did Bridget finish her training? Yes. Can you give her her certificate? And and he kind of like looked at, because what is he going to say? No, because you won't sleep with me. So
Hmm.
he was like, oh, of course. And he fucking gets up and goes into the cabinet and takes it
Yeah.
out, gives it to her. And I'm like, thank you. Right. So she leaves. And then
Hmm.
like the following week, like the following couple of weeks, like all these women started coming to me and telling me
Yeah.
all this that was going on. And I was just, I was mortified, you know, and I was just like, he was slimy to me, but he never tried anything, you know. And like I said,
Yeah.
I was used to slimy men. So, you know, it was just like, you know, just put them on the
Mm.
pile
Yeah.
from my perspective, you know. But I got them together and I was just like, look, guys, this did not happen to me. So I cannot be your voice for this.
Yeah.
There, you know, you guys need to discuss this amongst yourselves, and this is criminal. So you know, if you guys as a group decide that you want to move forward with something legal, there is, you know, the police station is right down the street. And that's what they did. They got together and they went to the police
Wow.
station. And they filed, you know, they filed against him, and he got arrested 3 times for sexual misconduct, all this stuff. So I called the Yoga Alliance and I'm like, hi, this is what happened. This is his name. He's been arrested. You know, you should probably pull his fucking certification.
Yeah.
Because you think that's what they do. So, you know, I was just like,
Yeah.
look, like, he, you know, just like me training people, like he's walking around with your name on his back because you're saying
Yeah. Exactly.
he's okay, you know?
Yeah.
The woman on the phone, I'll never forget it. The woman on the phone goes, we're not the yoga police.
Ah!
This is what they said.
No, Vanessa.
Exactly what she said to me. She goes, we're not the yoga police.
That.
And I go, if you're not the yoga police, what
Who
are
is?
you? Why
Exactly.
am I giving you money? You've never gotten me a job and you're not protecting me from this guy. So why am
Yeah.
I paying you? She had nothing to say.
Yeah. No, of
So
course
after
not.
that, I never paid them again. Okay.
Wow.
It gets better. Circle forward 5 years ago. Okay. When the Me Too movement is like at its pinnacle. Okay. Yoga Alliance comes out with this new branding. We're behind our people. We're behind our community. We weed out predators and we do this and we do that. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I call them back. And I said, hello, remember me? I called you 20 years ago and you did nothing. What are you going to do now? You know what they did? Nothing. He's still teaching for the yoga. He's still certified by the Yoga Alliance.
Yeah.
I have never paid them again. I'm like, why am I paying you? Why?
Yeah.
They're a self-created, self-governed organization that just pulls checks, as far as I'm concerned. Like they've never done anything for anyone I've ever known that's a yoga
Because
teacher.
like in I don't know how it is in the US, Vanessa, but if you want to train teachers, do you have to go through Yoga Alliance? Do you always have to use them as a body, or can you do it by yourself? Or
I'm not. I'm training people.
Yeah.
And I have, you know, if in this area that I live in, you know, everybody knows me. So I don't need them. You know what I mean? Like I've never even, like, who's checking those certificates? Who's saying that they're not just going to Staples and print things up? Like, who's checking that? Nobody. Nobody. There's no way to possibly hold anybody accountable for anything. There just isn't. No way. How many people?
So you train you train people, Vanessa, and then they get a certificate from you in that sense, right?
Me personally, yes.
Yeah.
And people in this community know who I am, and they're the best. You know, people that have their own teacher trainers. So this happened the other day. A studio head that has trained hundreds of trainees just hired one of mine. I have 2 that are teaching, 2. And he pinched one of my teachers to teach at his studio instead of taking one of his own.
Yeah. Aha. Yaha.
Yes.
I mean,
so
yeah.
Like
I mean, I think it's hard. I think it's really hard though, because I do think that many amazing teachers like yourself, you know, want to train other people, want to start a teacher training, but I don't know. I think a lot of people
are under the assumption that they really need Yoga Alliance to
Why?
even make a training happening, you know?
Of course, why? Like, what do
Yeah,
they
exactly.
mean? Like I said, like you can go to Kinko, you can go to Staples and be like Yoga Alliance certified. There you go. Like
Yeah,
who's checking that? Nobody.
yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, not that I
Mm-hmm.
do that. I don't. I tell them I don't do it. But I mean, they would never know anyway.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because
There's not,
so when people train with
there's no
you, they
yoga
still
police for that, you know?
exactly. We're not the
No
yoga
yoga
police.
police. They're not the
Yeah,
yoga
yeah,
police.
yeah,
So what are
yeah,
they going
yeah,
to do?
yeah, yeah. No, but like what you're saying is when people train with you, they still can just become yoga teachers like anybody else, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, and all these people that are training teachers, like I didn't start training teachers until I was teaching after 20 years. Like
Yeah,
I didn't have the hubris to think that I could teach other teachers 2 years
hmm
in.
yeah, 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 yeah. Of course not.
You know what I mean? Like I was just like,
Yeah,
no, I can't teach teachers.
yeah,
Like like even
yeah.
now, just like some aspects of the practice just aren't really my roadhouse. They just
Hmm hmm
don't use them in my teaching. Like I don't talk about the sutras in my teaching like often. I don't know like a lot of the Hindu aspects, the gods and goddesses. Like it's not my wheelhouse.
hmm
To if I am not the person that would be offering that part of the training, because I don't, if someone, is sitting in front of me and I'm trying to teach them about Ganesh and they're just like, who's Ganesh's mother and what's the mouse in his
Yeah.
hand? And I have been taught that, but I can't
hmm
recall it like this to be able to teach that
Yeah.
to somebody else.
hmm
What I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pretend that I can,
hmm
I just
hmm
somebody else to teach that part.
Yeah, exactly. Just get someone in from expertise that is their
Yeah.
expertise. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And what would you say, like, if you, so, if you see these teachers, coming from these teacher trainings, like, what are some of the things, besides you already had a great example of someone not even knowing what Surya Namaskar
Yeah.
B is, what are some other shocking things that really come to you in this experience?
You mean as far as like yoga teachers just not knowing anything?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, the big thing with me these days, like I don't really go to other people's classes anymore. I don't,
hmm
which is a downfall, honestly, because I wish I did. Like there's so much to learn from other people. Like I don't want to downplay, like I don't want to sound like this yoga elitist or anything, because everybody has wonderful ideas. Even sometimes
hmm
if they're bad ideas, they can teach you something.
Yeah,
Um, my biggest issue with a lot of how teachers are teaching these days, and it's usually like the shock and awe teachers, is
hmm
that their classes are choreographed, not sequenced. It's a
hmm
different
yeah,
thing.
hmm
Choreography links movement together to make a beautiful effect visually,
yeah,
right? Sequencing is putting posture and movement in a specific sequence to make you better equipped for whatever is to follow.
yeah, yeah.
It's a different situation. And you
hmm
know I understand, we live right now in a me universe. Look at me, look at
Yeah.
me, look at me. And
Yeah.
they want to look cool and beautiful and challenging and all this stuff, and it's amazing to watch. It's like a Cirque du Soleil performance. It's amazing to watch, but
Yeah.
you know um it's not teaching in a way that's going to give your students a positive and safe experience when they're in your class.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And I tell the people that I train, I'm like, look, this is what we're looking for. Okay. At the end of the day, we are looking to give our students a positive and beautiful yoga flavored experience while
Yeah.
they're here. So they leave feeling better than when they got here. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's
it.
it. Then you done, your job's done.
That's it.
Yeah.
We have the
Yeah.
moves, they can release some
hmm
things,
hmm
like if we have them chant, they release some things. If we,
Yeah.
we them upside down to help them move, to, like whatever it is, you know, we build up a little sweat, we get them breathing properly, you know, and then we, you know, like we can't pat them on the butt. We can't do that anymore. We tap them on the shoulder.
We do a little namaste. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
But
Because
you know,
please, Vanessa, share that story you shared with me. I think you posted it on Instagram, and I was like, okay, please explain the mirror smashing into the mirror story. Do you remember that? I mean, we have to share that.
So yeah, this is awful. Was that what you were trying to cue me to tell before, and I just
No,
completely
definitely not. No. You were talking, and all of a sudden I remembered. Yeah. No.
I was in Arizona, and one of my students' daughters went to Tempe for college, and I was in the area there, and so I asked her, because she took my classes. I was like, where should I go to practice? And she was like, go to this place, you know, it's really cool, you'll love it. And I'm like, okay, fine. I drove like an hour out of my way just to go take this yoga class. And I get there, and this is, you know, I'm injured, and this wrap, like my brace pretty much just came off within the past like month or two. Like I had walked in with a brace. So I guess I was the only person he didn't know when I walked in. And he was a cute kid. He was young. And so I walked in, and I was just like, yeah, I'm here for class. And he was just like, oh, you must be Vanessa. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, have you ever done yoga before? And I just kind of smiled, you know, and I was just like, I've actually been teaching for over 20 years. And he's just like, oh, great. He's like, okay, then he goes, you do you know what you're doing. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine, whatever. Like that was the beginning and end of it. Like when yoga teach, first of all, when you like, I like to build community with people, you know, community, like safety and community are like top tier things for me.
Same.
You know,
yeah,
like
same.
a teacher from New Jersey, from a different state comes to your place, like, be like, hey, how's it going? Like I don't know. I like to get to know people, obviously. Like you and I got
exactly. We are the like, same, sister.
Yeah, like I like to make connections with people, you know.
Yeah.
And not everybody's like that. So whatever. I guess I can't hold that against him. So whatever. So we go into class, and it's kind of a mixed bag. I put myself in the back because I didn't want to distract anybody with, you know, what I was doing, or with or without my wrist. So I'm in the back, and he starts the class by telling a story about, it was so weird. Like he was this guy was watching, so you met my mother last night, and you remember when like it was just really weird. It was kind of very forced. You know when young like green teachers are trying to find their voice and they just don't know what to talk about, and it just comes out kind of weird, wonky. You're just like, you know what, you could have just walked in and started the class. Like you know what I mean? Like you don't have to force kind of spiritual lesson. Oh my God. You can't see Earl's paws right now, but he's sticking out. His little paws are like this, sticking out from under. It looks like the Wicked Witch from Dorothy.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, Sparky does that too. So cute.
So they're just like, so, you know, we're doing this and that, whatever. And it's a college town, you know, so there's a lot of college age kids, and there's there's a woman next to me who's brand new to yoga, younger, a couple of older people, like older than me, maybe in their 60s. So it's quite a mixed bag. He's not watching anyone. He's cueing people while he's like looking at his phone, changing the music. Like he's going like this, like changing the music, and he's telling them what to do in shoulder stand. That was the first thing.
Oh my God.
Shoulder stand behind him, and he's like telling them like, do this, do that. And I'm just like, you're not even watching them. And I am so neurotic about shoulder stand because that's what sent me to the hospital.
Yeah.
You need to watch people, and like Warrior One, probably you can turn your back on somebody. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shoulder stand, a laser fucking like focus on what's going on in the room. He was like fiddling with the music, and that was the first thing. I was like, oh Jesus Christ. And then he was like, okay, we're gonna do some handstand stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm out because my wrist, I'm like, I can't do any of this. So I just sat down, And I was just like, I'm just going to watch. I'm just going to sit and watch and see what's going on here. So I just kind of like sat there. I think I was stretching or something. And he went to the front of the room, and obviously handstand was his bag. You know what I mean? So he was just like, like showing off, you know, doing the handstand, do it this way, do it that way, da 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 da. And he's like, go ahead, go do what you got to do. And I'm like, there was one person in that room, one person that had any business doing anything close to a handstand. One person. And I knew that because she was doing handstands when I walked in. She must have been a teacher or something. Nobody else in that room had any business doing handstands. And I'm just sitting here. I'm like, this is not good. Like,
So
in front of me, you know, was a big mirror. Half the room was mirrors, a long room. Front was mirror. And in the front, next to the mirror, were these two college kids. And they looked like they worked out. You know, they looked like, but obviously never did handstands before, but they thought that they could. So the one kid just flinged himself into a handstand, hit the mirror, broke the mirror, fell on his head and his shoulder. And I'm like, I just sat there like this, and I'm like this, and I'm like, and he looked at him, right? And he was just like, he's like, oh, dude, are you okay? Bah, 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 bah. And then just continued on like nothing happened. And I'm like, he just broke the mirror. Like,
yeah, exactly.
make sure his shoulder is dislocated. Like,
man,
what's happening, you know? And what makes
it's so crazy.
Like, that was crazy enough. And then, so I'm just like, my mouth is agape, and I'm just like, oh my God. Right. So we finish out the class, and everybody walks out, and the poor kid, he was so sweet, this kid, not the teacher, the kid that hurt himself. He walks up to the teacher and apologizes to him for falling. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, dude, to be apologizing for you for number one, trying to teach handstands to you, and number two, for not watching you.
Yeah.
I'm like, if that kid was any other kind of person, he would own this yoga studio. We sue everybody, you know, like that would have been the end of it. I'm like, goodbye, you know.
Yeah.
I was just like, I walked out to the car, and that's when I did that post. I was just like, I can't not say something here, because this is what happens. You know, this is what happens. You know, just because you can do a handstand doesn't mean you know how to teach it.
Exactly. That's a really massive difference, you know. And also, you know, like, I think what you just said about the choreography and sequencing, the big difference is also like, yoga is not performative. It's not performative. It's not about you. It's not about you putting on a show. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, you just gotta be able to. And that's what I think, because I see the same as you. I mean, I'm halfway there with you, you know, like I'm a decade in, you're 2 decades in. And I just feel the same. I'm like, hold the phone, you know, like, when has it become about this more, it really is also acrobatics, and it's look at me, it's like gymnastics, it's like, you know, and it just isn't. That's not yoga, you know, like, at least definitely not how I was taught, you know.
Did you I didn't even learn handstands in my first training. It wasn't it just wasn't part of, you know, that would be considered an advanced posture, you know, that wasn't part of a primary training.
No,
you know,
definitely.
Like it was gymnastics.
You know,
it wasn't. And honestly, like, I never saw people doing handstands in yoga for the first 10 years. I was teaching.
Same.
It wasn't a thing until like maybe even later. It wasn't really a thing. And then all of a sudden, everybody wanted to do handstands, and it's handstands all over the world, on the side of cliffs, on the side of buildings, you know, all this stuff. And I'm like, do we need to do that? You know, like, no, it looks fantastic, but it's not the lesson that we should be perpetuating. Like, it's not it is a yoga posture. It is not yoga. You know, it's you know, I like to say it's the yoga with the little y. It's like the tiny y, you know, it's like, it's one, it's one pose that most people should not do ever in their life.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden it's top of the food chain. Like a handstand is yoga. I'm like, no, dude,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you having
Yeah.
it, it's you feeling better when you get
Hmm.
off is yoga.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that could be you laying down the whole time.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So Shavasana is more yoga than the handstand is.
Well, I think also it's just being now it's funny. I follow this girl on Instagram as well, and she's always so amazing because she always has like this like let's have a little discussion here about yoga and how and she was just saying the other day yoga has a PR problem. And it really is. It's like, it's advertised the wrong way by so many and again, to bring it back what you just said, just for people to make money. It's the same here, and to me, if people come to yoga first from an exercise point of view, awesome, you know, but
Yeah, I mean,
eventually, you know,
I got into it from an exercise point of view. That's how
hmm
I got
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's,
yeah,
that's probably a good chunk of it,
yeah,
of people.
exactly,
And
yeah,
it's like, with that thought process, it's the ends justify the means, like how did you
hmm
walk in or is irrelevant. The fact is that you got there.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Because if you would describe what yoga truly means, like what would you say? You already said community, you already said, like that building community is so important to you and safety, but like what to you, what is yoga?
Yoga is a system of wellness that makes you a better human.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's
well said.
like it's not about the shapes your body make.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
It's about what you do with that body in this world once you have it.
Mm, that's it. That's it.
Like I I always tell people like what, it's, one of my old teachers, Brian Kest, he always equated our bodies as our vehicles, like our cars, like,
Mm-hmm.
hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing with the car? Where are you going?
Yeah,
Who are you
exactly.
who are you picking up on the side of the road? Like, what are you, you know what I mean? Like, okay, we
Yeah.
create this vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And I always say to people that we do our asana practice to make our body less of a distraction so we can do other
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
want to make them healthy and
Yeah.
strong, right? So we're capable physically to help ourselves and others, emotionally strong so we can help ourselves and others, and
Yeah.
be a better person so we could be a positive force in this world instead of a detriment.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's such a and also this is something that I speak a lot about at the moment because there's so much going on in the world. Of course, we have a few wars going on, as we know. And also just now here in the Netherlands, we have someone becoming a prime minister who's literally a fascist and a racist and all kinds of is.
Yeah, so
And it's a
you're
pretty
getting your Trump.
scary, it's a pretty scary time. Exactly. You're having a Dutch Trump. He even has the same haircut. It's funny. But um, to bring that back is like, I find it extremely important. For me, yoga is politics. Like it's like you can't separate the two. Like I feel like it's really important to bring certain matters into a class or talk about it in a way, exactly what you're just saying, like inspiring people to just be good people. How does it sit with you? Like, how do you? I think I already know the answer, but I love people who are listening to hear it from you.
You mean politics?
Yeah, I mean, like politics, activism, can we bring it into yoga class? Because I think it's really
Um,
important.
I think it's a very delicate thing,
Hmm.
especially these days,
Yeah.
because I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you another story that happened, and now this is because I run a studio.
Hmm.
Um, I had a student come in, Jewish student. My studio is surrounded by a very saturated area with the Syrian Jewish community, right?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Basically, right next to a town that they all live in. And so we get a lot of the women from the community, and they're lovely. There was this one woman who she's a school teacher, and she's adorable. She comes to all the classes. She just loves it. And she came last week, and one of my teachers was wearing a Bob Marley shirt with a Jamaican flag. And it wasn't like the proper Jamaican flag, it was just the colors.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought it was a Palestinian flag. And she got very upset. She didn't say anything. She basically just rolled up her mat and left. And then I get the call later on, and it was a hot mess back and forth between the teacher and her and like all this stuff. And I'm like, and I said to both of them, the teacher and the student, I was just like, look, like, this was an honest mistake. I said, there's that saying that if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Right?
It's such a good. I don't think I've ever heard that, but that's a really good.
I thought maybe it's an American thing. Yeah, if you're a hammer,
Yeah.
everything's like a nail, and I'm like, right now, everybody's a fucking hammer.
Yeah.
And we're all just like, because everybody's so polarized. And I am so middle of the road with things that, like, I think everybody's wrong and fucked up. Like, I think there's equal blame for everybody, I think everybody's wrong and everybody's fucked up, and nobody is doing right by each other or the planet or the animals. Like, everybody is just like out for themselves, like a lot, and the people that are not out for themselves, I feel like, are unicorns. and it's a shame. I don't, because politics in particular is very polarizing here in the States, I don't divulge or talk about any kind of that during my classes at all. I don't think that, because there's two sides to every coin, at least with politics. Like I said, there's enough blame for everybody with the political system. I can only speak for my own. I can't speak for yours, but I think they're all crooks and they're all crazy and they're just all like about power and money and all of it. I don't, and I'm not educated enough in politics and world history to get into an argument with somebody. So I opt out of that whole political thing, and plus, I don't think, I feel personally that the yoga studio should be sanctuary from that.
Yeah.
It should be a place for you to go and not have to think about fucking Trump.
Yeah.
Like, that's my 2 cents on that. Now, as far as the veganism goes, I feel that that's a separate conversation. Okay. Because not killing animals, you're a better human from my perspective. Not killing things is better than killing things. You can't argue with that. That's what it is. I sneak it in, in a very subtle way as often as I can.
Yeah.
So, I know Tim handles things differently than I do. You Jivamukti people, you're a little bit more hard edged than I am.
Oh, we are. It's a lineage. It's a lineage.
Yes.
And Tim also comes. Tim is old school like me. Like, he was trained by Sharon and David. Yeah.
And I love that about you guys. Like, I really do. And I'm that, and I am an angry vegan in my head, like 24/7. But what comes out of my mouth is very chosen and very, very particular, so a couple of years ago, so Thanksgiving classes had been historical, like packed, like everybody comes to yoga like in the morning to like get it done before they go to their families and don't eat all the food and do all that stuff
and have the turkey. Exactly.
And have the turkey. I can't. But this is the thing. So I don't walk in and say like, you assholes, you're killing turkeys today. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't bring up Thanksgiving. I didn't bring up turkeys. Anything. Did I ever tell you this story? I walked in with a jar full, a mason jar full of white liquid. Did I ever tell you this story?
I'm just trying to. It sounds familiar, but keep going.
So I walked in, I put it down next to my mat, and everybody sat down, and I was just like, all right. And I picked it up, and I was just like, all right, guys, what's in the jar? So one of my students in the back is like, well, it's probably soy milk, knowing you, Vanessa, ha ha ha, or whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe. They said, maybe it is. I go, what if I told you it was rat's milk? And they were like, that's disgusting, blah, blah, blah. So I just started going through animals. What if I told you it was cat's milk? What if I told you it was horse milk?
Yeah.
What if I told, da, 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 and like, that's disgusting, blah, 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 blah. And I go, all right, guys, look, you just said that all these other mammals' milk was disgusting and you wouldn't drink that. Oh, but you're still drinking cow's milk, which is just another mammal. I go, it's equally as disgusting. I said, I said, do yourself a favor, Google it, educate yourself on really what's going on with that whole situation, and let's have a discussion about it another time. I'm like, all right, downward facing dog, blah, 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 blah. So that was the beginning at the end of the conversation, because everybody was just like, huh. Like I saw everybody go,
huh.
Because I'm right.
Right,
Fucking obviously I'm right, like you're not gonna drink rat's milk, drink cow's milk. It's just a bigger mammal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just
Still
found
a
the
mammal.
biggest mammal. Like it's just milk is, it makes me gag. So anyway, years later, and her name is Vanessa, funny enough, was in that class. This girl, she comes back to my class like years later, and we were talking, and she's like, oh, Vanessa, she's like, I'm vegan now, me and my husband, right? And I'm like, really? That's awesome. She's like, yeah, it was the jar of milk that did it. And I'm like, really? And I'm
that
like,
red milk. That red milk. Yeah.
She's like,
bless her.
It really got me thinking, And I'm like, good. I'm like, I want people to think. Like, I don't want to preach to people. I want people to think, because people don't make change from like yelling, screaming. Like they do the opposite. They're like kids, you tell them not to do one thing hard enough and they spin off into the opposite direction, Yeah,
I think it's planting the seeds. I mean, I do definitely myself also. I got a lot softer. The approach got a lot softer and it just, works better. That's for sure.
Well, plus I told you about that, the TED Talk that I saw.
Yeah, with the guy. Exactly. Yeah,
like that completely changed how I thought about things. I was just like, he's right. I'm like, if I could get all of my students just to give up meat on Fridays,
yeah,
huge. That saves animals' lives. Like you have to look at it as a numbers game. Like I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? Like some asshole that'd be like, oh, you have leather seats in your car. Like there's always going to be something, around that's not, like nobody's perfect. There is no razor for these things, but you do your best,
Exactly.
If I could get everybody I know to just give up meat one day a week, that does something. That saves
absolutely.
animals.
I mean, it's already that's saving animals as well. And I think that's really good. No, and I think it's good what you're saying also, and it makes me think as well, because I think it's also what you're saying about, to bring back what you said about the politics and like leave that out of the sanctuary, leave that out of the place where people actually come to just let things, I'm just gonna pause everything and I'm here to do my praxis. It's a good point. I do think there's a flip side to it where I also feel like some things need to be said, like, and specifically what we're going through now in the Netherlands is a really scary situation. And I also feel that sometimes the platform could also be like, okay, and it's not about preaching, but it's also about like, for example, for me, the yoga is one of being.
How would you approach that? Like, how would you, coming from the yoga side, like, how do you?
Yeah, so what I'm doing at the moment is very much like, I'm not preaching about like, hey, this guy is a facet. Like, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that yoga is about the oneness of being, and that separation is the reason of all the suffering in the world, and that what this person wants to do is just that. Like, because so Geert Wilders, who will become the prime minister, his first and foremost thing is all Muslims should leave Holland, and he wants everything in his power to, like, mosques need to be closed, Muslim schools need to be closed, all these people should leave the country. Like, there is this massive Muslim hate in everything that he speaks about, and that's just one thing. But this is the most. So for me, like, that's a good point to go like, okay, guys, yoga is oneness of being. Yoga is not separating. In yoga, everybody is welcome, and this is the opposite of what he's trying to do in this country. So that's, I just feel like, and I do it in a, like, sometimes I even make it like a little joke, or you know how sometimes in I say, like, in a forward bench you want connection, you would really love your lower ribs and your abdomen, you want them connected to the legs, you don't want a lot of space in between, you want it to be one. I said, this is what Geert Wilders looks like, this is what a forward bend looks like, like just a little joke,
Right, right, right.
but this, it's funny because this one guy a few days ago got really upset. He was like, "Oh, next time I come to your class, is there no political comment?" And I was like, "Well, I'm sorry, but you've come to the wrong class."
Yeah, it happened. Yeah, yeah.
And I guess, as you were saying about Tim and Jivmukti, like, yes, we come from a lineage that is just about that. I mean, Jivmukti is very political and very much
Mhm.
about activism. And Stuart, of course, also my teacher, yeah, he brings in all kinds of stuff. Because I do sometimes think it's just good. What you did with the milk also is like a reminder, and it's inspiring for people. That's what I'm trying to do as well. Like, I'm not saying he's an asshole, he's a fucking asshole, and blah, 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 blah. Like, and I'm sure you guys voted for him, or you're an idiot if you voted for him. Nothing like that. I'm just slowly and really gently trying to say, hey, if we believe in the oneness of being, if we believe in connection, if we believe in love and being together, then we cannot, with all, in good, in good common sense, vote for this guy, or
It's
even let
horrible.
him be. Yeah, it's really, really crap. So I think that, there's two ways about it, but you're really making me think, because of course I also believe that, um to protect,
But
protect
it's
people
like
from that
it's like the
situation.
milk thing. Like you could, talk about, you know, being one with each other without even bringing his name up.
Exactly.
You
That's
know,
what
and
I did that today. I was like, we all know, what I wanted to say with that, right? Because everybody knows, that's the thing, because we're all feeling it. And that's the thing, like what you just said about the hammer and the nail. I feel it very much here, because there is just, you feel it in the air even, like, oh my God, this, because it just happened. This is very recent, like the 22nd of November, we had elections. So it's a very recent thing.
so
And I
is he
just,
actually he's getting voted in?
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and it's I mean, look, I think that what I always think is that, like Margaret Mead says, like it's the small groups of people and small groups of individuals that make a change. And I think that when you get these kind of people, what you just said about, like, they're all idiots, they're all in power, blah blah blah. I think the bigger they get, the bigger the resistance gets as well. I mean, I definitely saw that in Trump, with Trump as well. Like, like you, I know many Americans who, were part of the minority of who weren't Trump people, and they became a very big, coalition and community together. So you start to bond with people you don't even really know, or you would probably maybe normally not become friends with, but you become friends with them because this is also a very bonding experience, like what is going on. So I think that
Yeah.
there's always something to say for that. And that's also what I feel yoga very much is, it's yoga is also, it's rebellious, it's like really, it's rebellious to have that path of self-realization and become a bigger and better person,
Mhm.
through the practice, like that's what, um and like you, I hold my teachers close, and I hold that incredible practice of yoga close. So I think that's also what I love so much about you, and what you've been saying in this episode today is very much like, it's so precious, and it's so extremely authentic and important. We have to be training people properly in it, you know,
Yeah.
because, the lineage that you hold is so dear.
Yeah. It's important. It's important to
Yeah.
know where we come from,
Yeah,
and where the practice comes
exactly.
and why we do it. And, it's important how we do it for many
Mm,
reasons,
yeah.
not just physical safety, but, you
Yeah.
know, what you talk about in class, how you talk about it,
Mm,
it's all there's a lot of moving parts, like I remember one time I was just like, I feel like I'm like, part showman, part DJ, part,
yeah,
therapist, part
that's
like,
it. Yeah. Lots of hats in the one hat.
Wear
That's
lots
it.
of hats, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
totally.
you want people to enjoy themselves, and you want people to take something with them. So whether
Mhm.
it's, something to make them think,
Yeah.
right? Something to
Yes.
make them feel better, something to root them in the community, you know.
Hmm.
I mean, yoga means union. You
Yeah.
know, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we should be it like every aspect of the teaching, you know, is supposed to make us, be more connected, more compassionate, more, thoughtful, more conscious, more,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
like all of these things. It's not about like, creating separation. It's not about, being by yourself. It's not about, making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
It just this is why it's kept my attention for,
Hmm.
and became my purpose in life,
Yeah.
because at different times in my life it has given me everything that I've needed,
Yeah.
and it has shown me like, Michael Singer, I'm assuming he
Hmm.
wrote.
Yeah. Yeah.
So right before when all this studio stuff was coming up, I read his book called The Surrender Experiment. Have you
Mm.
read that?
No, I don't know it, but
It's
another friend of
amazing.
mine was talking about
Yeah,
it recently. Yeah.
amazing, amazing little book. Basically, it's about how he became who he is today. Like
Hmm.
he started off as like this guy who was supposed to be like an accountant, you
Yeah.
know. He ended up being the writer of The Untethered Soul and this big spiritual leader and like all this stuff, like
Yeah.
as Amrit Desai on like speed dial. You know what I mean? It's super, super fascinating. And it all at some point, like he started with meditation,
Hmm.
and he started chasing meditation almost like a drug. Like as I'm reading this book, I'm like, he sounds like an addict, because he was like trying
Mm.
to like deeper and deeper into his meditation and doing weirder and weirder and longer meditations to try to find that still point, you
Yeah.
know and but at some point, I don't remember exactly what the turn of events was, but I mean, I'm spoiling the book for anybody, but whatever.
Yeah.
um Basically,
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
spoiler, you don't have to read the book now, but um he said he decided at some point that he was just going to trust that, well, for whatever the universe presented itself, he was going to say yes to, no matter what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
he didn't want to do it, he had to say yes. Like he was just going to throw his
Mm.
hands up for the universe or whatever you want to call it and just say
Yeah.
yes to everything that came in front of him. And there was just like one thing after another, and some of these things he was just like, and the voice in my head said, fuck, no. But my mouth said yes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just like, I don't
Yeah.
want to do it. He's, oh, fuck. All right, yes, I will. And it the doors just opened for him, saying yes, yes, yes. And he was kind of like herded, into the
Hmm.
life that he has.
Yeah.
And um it was really, really wonderful. And I was just like, you know what? Like, and I say this all the time, like I don't believe in God really. Like I don't believe in like a deity, or I
Hmm.
believe in the activity of us
Yeah.
um on many levels. But I wouldn't say I'm a person of faith. Like I don't believe in, I'm not religious. I don't believe
Hmm.
in most people. I don't believe in, like I'm really not. Like faith has been something, like that word has been wasted on me as a person,
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I read this book and I'm like, you know what? Like my life has been super challenging, super challenging, a lot. Physically challenging, emotionally challenging, like it's been a lot. But you know what? Like at the end of it, I've always come out of the other side. I've always come out better for it. I've always
Yeah.
learned something important. And there's always been people in my community that have helped me every single
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the history. I'm kind of like reflecting on my life, and I'm just like, I have to trust in that, because that's been
Yeah.
been
Exactly.
my
Exactly.
experience. Like the
Yeah.
experience of the
Exactly.
past, 50 years of my life, I have been cared for. I have, you
Mm.
know, And I'm like, I just have to have faith in that. And I'm just like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna fucking surrender to it. And whatever is presented, I'm just gonna say yes. And I started doing, and here comes my partner, Beth, and she's just like, let's open a studio. And I'm like, my voice in my head goes, fuck, no. And I was just like,
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
okay, let's do it.
Yeah. That's it. And in your yoga teacher career, these are like the three last questions because we can sit here again, for another 5 hours. But I'm wrapping it up slowly, wrapping it up slowly. You'll be back as you do, Three last questions. So one is like, so when you look at your yoga teaching career for yourself, first question is what? Let me just see. So I start with let's start with this one. What, as a yoga teacher, what has the worst advice someone has given you in your yoga teaching career? What was the worst advice?
Huh.
Has anybody ever given you bad advice? Maybe not. Maybe they keep away from you more.
I'm assuming. Let's see, who's giving me bad advice in yoga?
Oh, it could be. I mean, you can make it life related as well. It's like it's just really interesting to see what is your worst advice, what's your best advice. But we start with worst.
I gotta be honest, Carol. People don't give me advice with yoga.
Yeah. See.
People,
Okay.
people come to me for advice in yoga, like that. Unfortunately, that's been my experience. Like I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't really had the mentors that I am to people. Like I wish that I did. I think it would have made my life a lot easier.
And what about like if you could look at life lessons, what would be the worst advice someone has given you when it comes to life?
Probably like get married and have children.
Exactly. Exactly. We've all been there.
Like when you're having kids, I'm like, I'm not having kids. I like kids. I'm not anti-kid. I don't want kids. It's not what I want for myself. And just because I have a womb doesn't mean I need to use it in that fashion.
And then the best advice?
The best advice.
Again, can be yoga related, can be life lesson related.
The best advice I'm actually trying to follow right now.
Mm-hmm.
I started the best way I can explain her is I've been like having sessions with this woman who's actually a medium. She's like a life coach and a medium together, which is super interesting. She's very intuitive, because I've never had an older person fucking help me with shit, and I'm tired, and I'm just like, I just need like an older, wiser person to kind of help me a little bit. So a couple of women in my community were just like, you need to talk to this woman. And I'm like, okay. So I've been talking to her and she's super cute and she's older and she's like been telling me that I need to believe in myself more, and I need to love myself more, and I need to, because I put out a lot and I don't, it's not that I don't get it, but I don't give it to myself.
I think it's a really, really important thing for you to see yourself like other people see you,
So she's working with me on that, trying to
that's beautiful.
It's bringing up some stuff for me, like she's like, you need to love yourself. And I'm like, I'm awesome, Pam. What are you talking about? She's like, that's not what I'm talking about. You're awesome. She's like, but on a very deep soul
level. Exactly.
A very soul level. You don't think you're worthy of certain things, and as she's like telling me these things, like, things are just silly things, like silly little things that I do every day or don't do every day, like I don't get my nails done. Like I just got my nails.
Just say they're pretty. They're pretty.
You know what I mean?
No, it's important. It's important.
It's not. It's more than self-care. It's more than whatever. But so that's actually what I'm currently trying to work on. So that would probably be
thanks, Pam.
The good thing.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. Really, really good thing. And because I think very, very much in relationship to this episode, like what and your, the theme we've been working with like, and I'm sure you do it all the time, probably, on a daily basis or something, but what would your advice be to specifically starting teachers? Like what would be your advice to a new yoga teacher on the scene be?
Find somebody that knows their shit and
Woo woo, mic drop.
and spend time with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like having a mentor is
Everything.
it's game changing. It really is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a couple of like big names in the yoga community that are older and wiser. They're not too much older than me, but they've been in the game longer than I. Like I'm going to see. Do you know who Sean Korn is?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing her on Saturday. She's actually in Jersey.
Cool.
But when you have the opportunity to be in the presence of a teacher that is very experienced and very wise and really live it, you kind of need to find that person that you want to be when you're there.
Exactly.
And then just fucking put your hook in them.
Yeah, exactly. Be with them. That's always really good advice.
Put your hook in them, but you can't be with them in person all the time. Like somehow put your hook, even if it's like us, like a call once a month or whatever. Just to
so nice.
kind of like share the vibe, share some knowledge.
Oh, absolutely, and just the sparring we do. It's so important. Like it's like, or you have something. I mean, it's everything. It's everything to be in the present. Absolutely. That's really really good advice, because it's one of the biggest advice was given to me in my training, actually, in my teacher training. Like if you find a teacher, spend time with them. Doesn't matter how much it costs to get there. It doesn't matter where it is. You just gotta be with your teacher. And I mean, I of course, as you know, have to it very much. Where it's just priceless it's great to be on Zoom, but then being in his class again or just being in his presence, it means a lot.
Being with your people is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and another thing, and just to close, listeners, is like look up Vanessa also on Instagram. Like seriously, like how people have these like oracle decks and then they grab a card. All you have to do is just check her post. And that's your oracle card for the fucking day, people. I mean, seriously. I'm like, it annoys me that I can't copy paste on Instagram, because seriously, like I would have my little, and I just make little photos and then I'll make little notes, because you share such wisdom and such inspiration, and really like you really changed my life, and I know you changed the life of many, many other people. So, and I'm so grateful that you're in this role, and I'm grateful that you're in mine. So I'm really, really, you're just incredible. And I'm glad that you have someone who is helping you really see that, because you are amazing, and that's an understatement. So I hope people look you up. I hope people who actually are close by come and see your studio. I'd be very jealous. I can't wait to be there myself. We'll set that. And I'll put everything in the show notes also about your beautiful annual festival and all your projects, and we'll pop it in there. And I hope people will look you up and just keep shining that wonderful light as bright as you do, because it definitely makes it all the way to Amsterdam every fucking day.
Well, one day my butt will be in Amsterdam.
For sure. Please. On the couch. We're waiting. So thank you so much for being here again. Was that Vanessa?
Buying a new couch. It matches your hair. So when you get here, it'll match.
That'd be super cool. I want to thank you so much for coming back, and please keep coming back, because we have so much to share. As you say, all our conversations are podcasts. So, we just keep them coming. And for everybody listening, thank you so much for listening. And you know the drill. Be good to yourself. Be good to others, especially the animals. Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you all so very much for listening to Go For Your Life. I really appreciate it. And if you liked it, you know what to do. Please leave a review, leave a comment, share it amongst friends, do whatever you can do to support me and this podcast, because it is my life. Thank you very much, Miguel, for doing the editing. Thank you so much, Maria, for your beautiful designs. Thank you, Sparky, for being the best co-host ever. Thank you, Animals Worldwide, for your daily inspiration to keep me going, for always putting that fuel in me. Thank you so, so much, because we know the drill, right? Namaste, vegan. Go, 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 go.